Welcome, everyone. Good morning for those in the UK and good afternoon when you're joining from Indonesia today. Thank you so much for joining us in this webinar. We, the British Council and the MENTARI Low Carbon Energy Programme, are very excited to inform you today about the British Council's open call for proposals called the Researcher Links Climate Challenge Workshops, which will provide grant funding for interdisciplinary research workshops on climate change. My name is Carlijn Vreuten, and I work for the MENTARI Programme on behalf of Palladium. MENTARI is a collaboration between the British Embassy Jakarta and the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of the Republic of Indonesia. We are co-hosting this session together as MENTARI will provide matchmaking services to help you find a last-minute research partner in Indonesia or the UK before the deadline next week, Friday on the 27th of November. The British Council will also provide some more information on the Newton funds, which have a bit of a later deadline. So today, we will first listen to Julio Retana, the team leader of the MENTARI Programme, to provide a quick introduction to the services that we offer. We will then give the floor to Bapak Muamin Siamsudin, who is the Senior Programme Manager for the Education of the British Council. He will provide a quick overview of the key information around the Researcher Links call for proposal. We will then turn to Mbak Ibu Kranti Paramita, who is the Programme Manager for the Science Department of the British Council in Indonesia. She will provide more information about the Newton Fund. I will then host a live Q&A session where we will address all the questions that you still might have. You can share your questions in the chat box, which you can open at the bottom of the screen. We would appreciate it if you make it clear at the beginning of the question to who the question is addressed. And then this can be followed by your actual question. You can do this throughout the webinar, but we will address all the questions at the end of the session. You'll also be able to actually ask your question yourself. We'll try to unmute you when we address your question. So then at the end of the webinar, I will quickly explain how you can take part in MENTARI's matchmaking services. You can find a link to the survey in the chat box, and it will take around 2 minutes to complete this survey. You can indicate the research areas that you're interested in, and based on this, we will connect you with a UK or Indonesian university with a similar research interest. And you can submit a proposal together. Or if there's any other future collaboration or opportunities, you can also work on this together. There are a few other house rules that I would like to bring to your attention. First of all, the floor language will be English today, but we have live translation services. But Hassa Global, the event organizer, will further explain how these work in a few minutes. Second, it would really help us if you could rename yourself to start with your name followed by an underscore and the organization that you represent. This will help us in answering your questions. And as a final note, please find a registration link in the chat box as well. If you could fill this out, it will help us with knowing who has registered for the webinar today. So before we kick off, I would like our event organizer to quickly explain to us the various house rules of this webinar and the function we provide today. Please, Hassa Global, go ahead.
Selamat sore, selamat datang di Researcher Links Climate Challenge Workshop, grant funding for interdisciplinary research workshop on climate change. Izinkan saya dari Bahasa Global untuk memberikan panduan singkat mengenai penggunaan fitur Zoom dalam pertemuan sore hari ini. Berikutnya adalah panduan dalam penggunaan Zoom Meeting. Kami mau mengingatkan terutama nomor 6 supaya fitur interpretation yang ada di dalam Zoom dapat berfungsi dengan baik. Mohon pastikan Bapak Ibu sudah mengunduh dan menggunakan aplikasi Zoom versi terkini. Bila sore hari ini Bapak Ibu sekalian menggunakan PC ataupun laptop, di sebelah kanan bawah layar Bapak Ibu sekalian ada icon bola dunia untuk penerjemahan. Mohon diklik dan dipilih English bila mendengarkan dalam bahasa Inggris dan bisa memilih Indonesian untuk mendengarkan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Kami juga menyarankan agar Bapak Ibu tidak memute original audio. Berikutnya, bila Bila Bapak Ibu sore hari ini menggunakan handphone atau telepon seluler, tampilannya sedikit berbeda. Seperti di layar utama Zoom di handphone Bapak Ibu sekalian, di kanan bawah ada 3 titik. Mohon diklik dan dipilih language interpretation dan memilih bahasa yang ingin didengarkan. Jangan lupa untuk klik dan bila sudah selesai memilih. Berikutnya, sore hari ini juga ada juru bahasa isyarat yang akan membantu juru bahasa isyaratan di sepanjang kegiatan. Akan selalu ada di layar Bapak Ibu sekalian atau yang membutuhkan dapat mempin layar dengan tulisan juru bahasa isyarat. Terakhir, sebagai disclaimer, guna memastikan kelancaran pertemuan hari ini, host dan co-host berhak melakukan mute audio atau stop video para partisipan yang tidak sedang berbicara di saat mereka tanpa sengaja menyebabkan gangguan terhadap acara ini. Ini dilakukan untuk menjaga suara pembicara dan juru bahasa tetap jelas. Terima kasih atas kerjasama Bapak Ibu sekalian. Selamat berkegiatan. Have a productive meeting.
Thank you very much for this explanation, Bahasa Global. So I would like to emphasize again that the floor language will be English, but there will be live translation available. So please click the globe at the bottom if you'd like to use this service. I would now like to give the floor to Julio Retana, who will introduce the MENTARI program. Please go ahead, Julio.
Thank you, Caroline. So good afternoon. Can you see my video now?
Yes, we can see you,
Okay.
your video. Thanks,
Good.
Julio.
So yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Good morning for the people in UK. So as Caroline was mentioning, this webinar is co-organized by MENTARI. My name is Julio Retana. I am the team leader for the program. And what I'm going to go through in the next 5 or 10 minutes is what is MENTARI, to give a general overview of what we're doing in Indonesia, what our objectives are, and why we're working in the different areas. So as Caroline already mentioned, this is a cooperation between ESDM, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources of Indonesia, and the British Embassy in Jakarta. It's a program under the UK Prosperity Fund, and it started this year. It's a 4-year program, and we're expecting it to last until 2023. And the focus of it all is related to this conversation about sustainability and research, but also mainly about energy and energy access and how renewable energy and low carbon energy technologies can make an impact in Indonesia. Now, the reason why this is coming from the UK is because the UK is a leader of green finance technologies, not only technologies that are widely available, but also specifically we're talking about wind energy, offshore wind energy, and marine energy. And UK, through its collaboration, through its presence in Indonesia, can definitely support Indonesia towards that goal of a low carbon energy transition. Now, the reason for the program, the goals that we are looking for to achieve or to reach with the MENTARI program is to create this low energy transition for several reasons. The first one of them is economic growth and energy access and social inclusion and equality. So the government of Indonesia has taken quite a big effort to provide energy access to a lot of its population. Still, there are many millions of people that do not have that access, and that kind of off-grid connection is what we are looking for. So for example, although MENTARI is related to, or it has the scope of the whole Indonesia. We're very focused on the eastern part of Indonesia, which has the least energy access connection of the country. We're also looking at the energy transition to combat climate change. And this is particularly important, as most of you know, for Indonesia being an archipelago and having this risk of adaptation towards climate change. Besides that, Indonesia is one of the biggest polluters in the world in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. So we're looking at the energy sector to combat that kind of emissions and that kind of CO2 emissions from the power plants that are currently being operated, and transitioning into a more greener future through low carbon energy and renewable energy. And finally, because renewable energy, as has been demonstrated over many decades in many other parts of the world, provides economic growth, it provides business opportunities, and it provides green jobs, something that is relatively much more important right now with the whole COVID situation, in which this creates an ideal opportunity for the energy transition. Now, MENTARI it stands on the shoulders of different programs that came before them. But what we want to do different is that we want to have that push towards making Indonesia become a renewable energy superpower. So we have a lot of focus, a big, great team, and as I said before, a 4-year program to actually give that push and work with our counterparts in the government of Indonesia, work with our stakeholders, and to be able to reach that goal at the end of the 4 years. For that, we are working with 4 individual strands, and one cross-cutting strand, which is gender and social inclusion. So basically, we're dealing with 4 areas of interest. One is policy. So we're looking at what are the policies and regulations currently in Indonesia regarding the energy sector, and how we can push and improve those policies to make it more available and friendly and for business and also for village communities to be actually electrified. Number 2 is brokerage. So we're helping connecting investors and financiers to the project developers, making sure that the projects are investment ready and giving them that push to be able to be implemented. We also have a demonstration project in Sumba, which is beyond demonstrating the technology, is also the demonstration of a mechanism of the village organization, of how off-grid projects can become standard and applicable and replicable across Indonesia. And finally, we have CNN, or collaboration and networking strand, which actually try to involve all of these different stakeholders, all of these different people of interest, all of our different strands, and making the most use of the resources that we have. And finally, gender and inclusion is one cross-cutting theme that we're looking at. We know that renewable energy in itself provides all of the benefits that we talked about job growth and business opportunity, but also it can raise people from poverty through allowing them to use productive uses of energy, allowing them to access different levels of education, and it's the first stepping stone towards reaching that gap. The people that are implementing this is organized and executed by the British Embassy in Jakarta, and the people that are implementing it, or the organizations that are behind this, is a consortium. So we have a very ambitious goal, and that's why we have all of these people and an excellent team behind this project. So we have Palladium, we have Hivos, we have Castle Rock, and we have ECA Consulting. And yeah, we're focused, we're very conscious of the difficulties that COVID has in the energy sector, in the financial sector, and the whole Indonesia, particularly the sustainability sector. But we think that this also creates a huge opportunity for the project. It creates an opportunity for Indonesia towards that energy transition. And we're very excited to be doing this. So thank you, everybody. And if you have any questions, here are some of the contacts. This is not mainly the interest of this webinar, but if you would like to collaborate or have any questions, please feel free. We're also going to be in Connex, EBTK Connex next week, and we hope to see you there. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julio. I saw a question in the chat box whether we will share all presentation materials. And yes, we will do this after the webinar. So we'll send that your way. It's now time to listen to Pa Muamin from the British Council, who will provide an overview of the requirements of how to apply to the open call for proposal. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, can you confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, we can see it indeed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, colleagues in the UK. Thank you for attending this workshops, and appreciate this is in a very short notice. And thank you for colleagues from MENTARI who make this happen despite all the challenges. And I think I wish we could be connected earlier so that we can have these sessions sort of much earlier. But anyway, let's start. And also for a disclaimer, this project is actually centrally managed by British Council colleagues in the UK. However, due to that, colleagues in the UK also run several open calls. They are not available to give a presentation and answer the questions that you may have at the end. So apologies if I can't answer some of your questions. I'll try my best, but if not, I'll give you email contact details that you can resend your questions. So basically, the Researcher Links climate change workshops is part of this council's response to the COP26 that will be organized in Glasgow in November next year. So we have several activities and also campaign, and RLCC is one of them. It targets, the workshop targets early career researchers from the UK plus 6 other countries in the world, namely Vietnam, Indonesia, Egypt, South Africa, Brazil, and Pakistan. It's in a nutshell, it's basically comprises of 2 main activities, which is virtual workshops, given that we are not sure how the world will evolve next year. So just to be safe, that I think probably it's better to do workshops virtually. We hope that the workshops, whoever got the funding, can deliver the workshop between 1st of April until 31st of August in time for sort of some further works for COP26 in November. And then the challenge prize activities or projects have to be completed before 31st March of the following year, which is 2022. The maximum funding per proposal is £49,700, that inclusive of the challenge prize. Unfortunately, as I said earlier, I wish we could be connected earlier. The deadline is exactly 1 week from now, which is on the 27th of November, 4 p.m. UK time. If I can answer your questions, please kindly send your questions to the email contact details that I put in the presentations. So the overarching workshop objectives there are 3. One is obviously to support the international development relevant on climate change, and because it targets the early career researchers, we hope the workshops will be a forum for capacity building for the early career researchers. And at the end of the projects, it can create link and sustain links between UK and the 6 other countries. it's the theme of the workshops centrally is about climate change, but we hope all the proposal will approach this issue from interdisciplinary perspective, so including science, arts, humanities, and other subjects. And obviously, there are some specific country sort of requirement, if you like, or priority. So we hope the workshop will also take into that into considerations and align with one or more COP26 priorities, and then link to the one of SDGs, particularly goals number 13. This is just suggested sessions. Just bear in mind that applicants need to organize the workshops online in the period of 2 or 3 days. So this is just some suggestions. Basically, it can be in the form of a mixed combination of the 6 or some of them. Including keynotes lectures by the principal applicants and mentors from both countries, and then sessions where early career researchers can share their works and their current research, and obviously networking, and again in line with the interdisciplinary approach. We hope that the workshop can also involve non-academic stakeholders, can be NGO, can be government, can be private sector working on the climate change, indigenous people, and etc. etc. Because we hope very much the short workshop can also be career development, professional development for the researchers. We hope the workshop also provide brief introductions on the research sector itself, both in the UK and in Indonesia, and how in the middle of this pandemic can early career researchers progress into further in their career. Because we use grants, UK taxpayer money, we need to be mindful that all the proposal that we receive to be ODA compliant. So basically, we align ourselves with ODA compliance published by the OECD. In a nutshell, it's basically activities that contribute to economic development and social welfare of low and middle income countries. Hello. Sorry.
Please continue. I think that was someone unmuting himself. Please continue.
Okay, sorry. All right. So yeah, so the ODA compliance, we align ourselves with the OECD definitions, and basically, in a nutshell, it's the activities that we want to fund will contribute to the economic development and social welfare of low and middle income countries, and also benefit the vulnerable populations. And then it clearly articulate how they achieve the sort of the roadmap, how they would achieve this impact in a short or medium time frame. Obviously, we are also mindful that in some cases, probably it would be challenging to clearly define that. However, we hope that we would see a clear articulation in the proposal on how the applicant can try to achieve that. Similar with MENTARI, we want to also address the issue around gender equality. I put in the slides a very useful guidance that is being used currently in the UK from UKRI, so you can have a look at that, and then try to articulate that in your applications. So what we are looking at is basically a joint applications by one principal applicant based in the UK institutions and one at partner institutions. Sorry, at one partner country institutions, and then because we want to make sure some form of sustainability. That's why the individual applicant must have the support of the institution where they were, and so the supporting letter must be secure and uploaded into online applications. And the grant agreement will be signed by the by the British Council in the UK and the UK principal applicants' home institutions. And from there, the UK institution, the UK principal applicant institution can then have further arrangement with their partner in overseas country. Given the size of the grant, this is the makeup of the workshop participants. So basically we have one principal applicant from each country, and then maximum 2 established researchers or mentors that can help the early career researcher throughout the journey of the projects, and then participants of maximum 20. The workshop will be held in English. However, we fully understand that for non-English speaking participant, it could be a challenge. That's why in the budget we accommodate costs to provide interpretations. This is what we would also want to see in the applications on how the workshop participant will be recruited. It will be a PhD researcher with PhD qualifications, or a researcher in the field that doesn't have a PhD but have equal experience with researcher with a PhD credentials. Maximum 46 participants, including interpreter and also people working on the platform, and also some kind of host or other sort of technical person that helps smooth the delivery of the workshops. The participants also should come from interdisciplinary background, and not everyone is coming from the institutions of the principal applicants and the mentor. So we want the 20 participants that you recruit comes from a variety of background. We will help applicants with a template of applications, but this can be adjusted appropriately. So this will be part of the grant agreement with the British Council. And given that British Council is an EDI charity in the UK, we don't exclude participations on the basis of ethnicity, gender, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, and disability. And this also applies to applicants wanting to access this grant. The challenge prize following the workshops, the 2 or 3 day workshops, this has to be awarded to the winner 30 days after the workshops. So you need to calculate a time as a preparation for COP26 and also the delivery of the prize. And all the activities that is funded by the challenge prize has to be completed before 31st of March 2022, simply because British Council fiscal year run from 1st of April until 31st of March. These are the challenge prize criteria. Again, the same with the overall funding criteria. It has to be ODA eligible. Consider the impact of their projects on gender, also address climate change, ODA compliant, and ensure collaboration between early career researchers from the UK and partner country overseas. Because we asked for the workshop to be delivered online, not face to face. At the moment, British Council global IT policy and security is our default, is using Microsoft Teams. However, on case-by-case basis, if it's not all possible to use Microsoft Teams, applicant can submit request to use other platform, and it will be reviewed on case-by-case basis. Other things regarding communication and visibility will be explained further in the grant agreement between British Council and the winner. So the total funding is maximum £49,700, inclusive of the challenge prize. We expect, as part of the reporting, all the supporting document will be submitted to British Council, and then because we anticipate there could be an audit trail from the UK to the British Council. So we ask our partner to keep the documentations until the date that is mentioned in the presentations. And other requirement regarding monitoring and evaluations will be specified in the grant agreement. This is how we see the financial proposal to be structured in your applications. The first category is the cost to organize the virtual workshops of a maximum 14,700, and then the challenge price range from 5,000 to 35,000, and contribution to additional workshop costs of 5,000, such as to conduct if the principal applicants want to visit the project site, so for travel, for also communications, and also collateral and other M&E purpose. And also we understand that for some researchers going online for extended period of time, for example, half day, could be expensive. So we consider that if principal applicants would like to request support for to buy internet data package for workshop participants, the total 49,700 is not the total cost of the workshop, because we expect there are in-kind contribution from host institutions such as staff costs and other things. This is the term of payment, so we will pay 100% of the grant, so the 49,700 maximum, within 30 days of the grant agreement signature between British Council and the UK principal applicants, but on the conditions that the final report is to the satisfactory of British Council, and we reserve the right to basically ask to return the money if all the term and conditions of these grants is not met by the applicants. So as I mentioned earlier, this funding, the 49,700, is intended as a contributions toward the cost of the workshops. So if the total cost of the program is about 49,700, then we expect contributions from the principal applicant institutions. Any underspend cannot be automatically used by principal applicant for other activity. This has to be communicated to the Police Council before 31st of December 2021 and must be approved by the Police Council before the underspend can be used for other purpose. Basically, there are two major reporting that we expect from the applicants. The interim report, which has to be submitted 30 days after the workshops, and then the final report 30 days after the challenge prize activities concluded. We will ask individual workshop participants to complete the survey. And we hope, we expect the principal applicant to administer that survey. And because we both in the UK and Indonesia, there are regulatory frameworks regarding research governance. So we ask all applicants to follow the code and also adhere to regulations, particularly if it involves animals, human beings, and also other things. So if for whatever reasons there is a issue regarding a breach of code of conduct or regulations, then we will look into that seriously and then talk with the principal applicants. You can submit a proposed application via email, so you have to log into the link that I put in the web in the presentations. And again, unfortunately, the deadline is exactly one week from now, 4 p.m. UK time. Please ensure that the total size of your application, including the supporting documentations such as letter from the host institution, does not exceed 5 megabytes. Otherwise, you run a risk to fail to upload the applications. Finally, to repeat the summary, so this is the call to respond to COP26 in November, and primarily to target early career researchers from the UK and 6 countries, including Indonesia. The bulk of activity consists of 2 things: the virtual interdisciplinary workshops between April-August 2021, and a challenge prize that has to be completed before 31st March 2022. The total funding is 49,700, including inclusive of the challenge prize. Deadline is next week, 27 November, 4 p.m. UK time. And if you have questions, please send your questions to the following email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pak Muhammad. I think that was very clear, loads of valuable information. And I see that we already have some questions flowing in into the chat box. We'll come back to your questions after the next presentation. So if you have any other questions around this call for proposal, please, you can still put them in the chat box. Maybe just make it clear for whether the question is addressed to Pak Muhammad or to the next speaker, which will be Mbak Grenti Paramita, who will tell us more about the Newton Fund. So please go ahead.
Good afternoon and good morning to all the colleagues in Indonesia and the UK. Thank you for this opportunity for us to present about the Newton Fund. I think we are interested to present and reintroduce you to the Newton Fund Indonesia, since we've been aware that the MENTARI Consortia also has the vision to also work and focusing on the research, strengthening the research between 2 countries, the UK and Indonesia, specifically for the low carbon and energy, the renewable energy. So we think it might be useful for you to be aware of this opportunity that has been provided by the UK government. So probably for the colleagues in the UK have been aware about the Newton Fund globally, but specifically for Indonesia, it has been known for the UK and Indonesia Science and Technology Fund. So this is actually a UK government initiative running from 2014. Actually, we are now at the Newton Fund phase 1, and we're going to conclude the program this year, but we're still waiting for the decision from the UK government to continue to the phase 2. So a disclaimer for those who participated in this session that every opportunities in the Newton Fund is currently still closed, but please do anticipate the next opportunities that might be rising in the future. All right. Okay, so the Newton Fund is actually a funding partnership and focusing to the research and innovation. So by saying the research is, we also focusing in the basic research and also applied research. So there are lots of opportunity for those of you who work in those areas, and also for the innovators and also inventors to participate in this grant funding as well. So the main aim for this grant is to develop the social and economic impact in Indonesia. And we always put at the utmost of the procedure to be transparent and competitive. So that means that we always put all of the opportunities publicly. We always promote this to all of the network that we have, so you can still keep updated through our website and also social medias as well. The Newton Fund has been running in 17 countries. In Southeast Asia, we're working in 5 countries, including Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Philippines. If you see here, all of the participating countries are all the middle income economies that are working with the UK. So just to give the clarification on the delivery partners. So basically the Newton Fund is funded by the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy in the UK, or BASE. And in Indonesia, it's being managed by the UK Science and Innovation Network that based in the FCDO. So at the moment, it has changed from FCO to Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office. So British Council is one amongst the 15 delivery partners globally. But in Indonesia, we are the largest delivery partner for the Newton Fund. We are the delivery partner specifically for the people pillar and also the translation pillar. From time to time, you might also see the opportunities coming from our other partners, such as the Medical Research Council for the health, and also the Innovate UK, Royal Academy of Engineering, and also Met Office. Okay, so the vision of the Newton Fund is to promoting the economic development and social welfare of partner countries, specifically for to engage to the low and vulnerable communities in Indonesia, to assure that the research is applicable and useful and beneficial for their interests and also the national development agenda. So we also apply the merit criteria to all of the opportunities that we have. So we fund the best people and projects to ensure the continued excellence of science and innovation. So at the moment, because we are actually working with the Ministry of Research Technology or National Research and Innovation Body in Indonesia. we are following the national research priorities. So at the moment, you might be aware that Newton has 10 national research priorities, but we have selected 8, and I think it's including energy here. So definitely it's relevant to those of you who is working in energy. Just to also inform you that lots of program that's been selected out of these opportunities are mostly multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary research. So it would be useful for you if in the future you want to work and apply to the Newton Fund. You might want to consider to work with other colleagues from other disciplines as well. Um, So in 2020, we actually we run 4 programs. So the first is Newton Institutional Link Scale N, which has closed in June, unfortunately. So we opened the call in April. So basically, Newton Institutional Link Scale N is has been an annual thing for us, but we're since we're still awaiting for the decision of the comprehensive spending review from the UK government, so we have yet to receive the news if we are having another call next year in April. And also we had the Newton PhD scholarship program. We sent 5 scholars to the UK, and the topics was around maritime. And the last but not least, we have the Newton Fund Impact Scheme, which is our partnership together with the National Endowment Fund for Education, or LPDP, the largest scholarship provider in Indonesia, and also obviously UK Research and Innovation, the largest research and innovation body in the UK, and also the Indonesian Science Fund. Right. So I have touched base on institutional links. So basically, the funding is to link and strengthen initial collaboration between UK and Indonesia universities. So I believe it's aligned with what the MENTARI is trying to strengthen here. So this also can be used for a small-scale research partnership as well. So since we are working with the Ristek Brin for this call, basically the Newton Fund in the UK, we cover the UK side of the funding. So we cover the proposal, the funding that proposed by the UK universities, and the Ristek Brin will be covering the Indonesia side of the financials. So it's a really equitable partnership between UK and Indonesia. I think it is important as well to mention that this is actually for us to develop existing partnership at groups, and also for a research group to establish local hubs, probably new research hub or innovation hub, for example. So it could be used for the establishment for a local hubs. So in this call, we grant around 80,000 for the UK side of the funding, and for the Ristek Brain, they cover up to 1 billion rupiah. And it is a multi-years program, up to 2 years. And the proposal call is actually, we had this once a year in every April. Yeah, just a hindsight of the application of the Newton Fund. So we have increasing in trends here. If you see from year to year, we have growth of application here. And at the peak on 2018, we had 81, but it's decreasing in 2019. I think it was because lots of major research funder had grant of opportunities as well at the time. So this is the spread of our projects here. So we had 34, but we we are going to select another 5 or probably more than that this year. So that makes around 40 for British Council. British Council to manage the projects this year. So we have majority still come from the west part of Indonesia. Unfortunately, we are actually looking forward to receive more application from those universities from the eastern part of Indonesia. In terms of UK side of it, it's pretty much equivalent or a balance between the states, like the England, Wales, or the Northern Ireland and Midlands. I think it's quite a good number. And the good news is more and more the Russell Group UK universities are sending us a proposal and wants to establish more partnership with Indonesian universities. I'm going to skip this. Okay, I think I have touched this. We had also the scholarship program in 2017. I think it's worth to mention that the Newton Fund also has the professional learning engagement program. So I think running from 2017 to 2019, we had the pleasure to have the partnership on the quality publication writing training. So this is like the acceleration workshop for Indonesian researchers that has interest to send their articles to international journal, because we are bringing in the editors from the Q1 international journal to Indonesia to actually guide them and mentor them. I think the results of this workshop has been really encouraging. For example, in 2019, I think at least 5 participants have successfully published the articles in international journal. So last but not but least, if you have any interest on the Newton Fund, please do send us an email to this email address, and we're going to keep updated all of the grants opportunities in our website as well. Please do also follow our social medias. I think that's a hindsight for the Newton Fund. Back to you, Caroline.
Thank you so much, Bagrenti. That was very informative. And I think, yeah, what you mentioned about the universities in Eastern Indonesia, that's definitely very well aligned with what one of our focus areas is on the MENTARI program. So I would now like to open the floor for a live question and answer session. I see that there's been quite a few questions in the chat box. So I'm going to unmute the people who have asked questions. If you're not comfortable with this, indicate this and I can ask the question for you. So we'll try to address as many as possible today of the questions. Before we start, I saw another question on whether all the PowerPoint materials will be shared. We won't share them in this chat box, but we will share them after the event over email. So let's start with the first question. I saw that Alan Drew had a few questions, so I'm going to unmute yourself. The questions were around using the Zoom platform and the challenge prize. So I think you're already unmuted, so please go ahead, Alan.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, the first question is about Zoom. So, I mean, I've been working in Indonesia now for a few years in international development. And my experience is that very few people have MS Teams, yet that seems to be the technology that is suggested by the British Council that we should use, and that actually Zoom is extremely reliable, extremely successful in running these sorts of events. We've got experience of it, and everybody has it. And so it seems to me that insisting MS Teams is used is actually a barrier to participation, which I think should be reconsidered. And actually, I would definitely like to be able to run a meeting in Zoom because I know it works and I know I can get participants. So, you know, this meeting, for example, is running Zoom, presumably for the same reason. So, you know, is it possible to use Zoom? I think it's probably the question.
Yes, thanks. Sorry.
No, please go ahead. I wanted to ask you to address the question.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks, Alan, for the questions. I perfectly agree with you. And I mean, the fact that I can attend on a meeting on a Zoom is I can say it's evidence that we can look into the use of Zoom. It's just, I mean, to be honest, that because British Council not only do a project like this, but also deliver English language trainings for young people and also for public. And there has been some instances that our Zoom, we do have Zoom platform at the beginning of the platform, of the lockdown, and then our account has been compromised and resulted in security issues. However, I think we can look into that. But I certainly note your comment, and then I will pass that on to my colleagues in the UK who oversee this call. I don't know whether you heard my first point in the presentation that this call is centrally managed by the UK, but unfortunately colleagues in the UK are not available to deliver the sessions and answer questions live, but I'll pass on your questions. And then the second question that I note from you in the chat box is about the challenge prize. In the guideline, it says I totally agree. It's not very prescriptive. It doesn't say what are the kind of activities that can be funded. So I think the best thing to do is I'll write after this, I'll write questions to my colleagues and then say, can they give an example of the kind of challenge prize that can be funded? And I will pass the answer to colleagues in the Mentari, who will then forward the answer to you all, because I don't have everybody's detail. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, just one thing. We only have a week to go, so,
exactly. So
knowing this as soon as possible would be really beneficial for writing the
sure.
Yeah, I haven't started the approvals process in Queen Mary at the moment.
No, I understand.
That takes days.
Yeah, exactly.
So, they need to know what it is that I'm going to do before I do it. So that so having this urgently, I mean, this is quite important, I think.
Yeah, understood. Again, I think I wish we could be connected with Mentari earlier. We just been connected, I think, 2 days ago, and then I mean, Maya from Mentari scrambled the things for today. So kudos to her. But I'll try my best. I'll try to get the answer as soon as possible.
Okay.
And pass it on to Mentari.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I saw that there were some other comments around the Zoom platform, but I don't think there are specific questions. So mentioning that the connectivity of Zoom is a bit better of some other platforms. And Fari Putri mentioning that they've used GoToMeetings and Google Meet as an alternative to Zoom, which work quite well. Farah Putri, I see you have another question around the application for workshop participants and how this will be announced. So I'll unmute you if you would like to ask your question, if that's okay. Oh, I seem to not be able to unmute Farah Putri, so I don't know, Basa Global, if you could help me, or otherwise I could ask the question for him or her. So the question is, would the application for workshop participants be announced by the selected grantee or via the British Council website?
So this is participants for the workshops, yeah? I think if I understand the questions correctly, for those who want to join the workshops, then the principal applicant will shortlist that, and then we'll announce who are the 20 people. But if the question is related with the announcement of the successful applicants for the grant, British Council will be in touch with the successful applicants by email in the mid of January next year.
Thank you very much. I hope that answered your question, Farah, and otherwise, please do send us an email. Then the next question is from John Lovett around whether staff costs can be included. And yeah, do you want to ask your question yourself, John?
Yeah, thank you very much, Caroline. First of all, I'll say that I agree with Alan about the difficulties of getting approval from our universities. We have to submit grant proposals 3 weeks in advance of the deadlines for it to go through the research office and the finance office. And I also agree with his comments on Zoom versus Teams. Teams has technical difficulties. But to my main question, which is about staff costs, reading the guidelines, it says that staff costs are not eligible part of the £47,000 potential budget for the grant. But there was a component of about £5,000, but that can't be part towards staff from the institutions that are submitting the proposals. We've run several webinars together with our colleagues in Indonesia, and we know from our experience that the majority of the cost is the staff costs organizing the workshop and preparing the content. So it would be very useful if there was much more guidance on the what costs were eligible in the guidelines, and also if it would be possible to lift that restriction on staff costs. Thank you, Caroline.
Yes, thank you very much. Would you like to address this question?
Yeah, thank you, John, for the questions. I mean, just go back on the announcement. We did announce this call in the UK much earlier through our website, through IES, and also I think Eurosex and UKRI channel. So I hope colleagues in your other colleagues in your university will notice this. I mean, I couldn't agree more on the Zoom. In fact, earlier this year, British Council Indonesia used Zoom for a series of seminar, but again, this has to be approved case by cases, unfortunately. But I mean, I perfect knowing how the landscape in Indonesia, I think Zoom is probably the best platform at the moment. But anyway, on the subject of staff costs, this grant is intended to contributions toward the cost of the workshops. So the first component in the funding structure, we anticipate that the principal applicant will identify somebody that can help him or her from outside the universities. I mean, then if it incurs some funding, for example, to hire, I mean, take for example, Mentari hire Bahasa Global, then that cost can be charged against the project's expenses. But the university staff cost at the moment is not eligible as part of the cost. However, I will pass on your question to my colleague in the UK whether this can be looked again and this restriction can be considered to be lifted. I hope I answer your questions.
I'm not sure if John is muted again, but yeah, if not.
Yeah, sorry, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Just to reiterate, it's really not possible to hold a workshop without the staff costs being covered, and the requirements of the grant include quite considerable reporting requirements. So those are all costs which are borne by the university and the collaborating university in Indonesia. So what this proposal is asking for is very considerable costs from the partners, and then you know, if we could hold these webinars ourselves if we were supporting those costs ourselves without any need of the extra work of doing all the reporting. Anyway, but thank you very much for your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. The next question comes from Vita Aumsari. I'll try to unmute you, but that's about the Excel template for budgeting and some of the requirements for lead applicants from the UK. Let me see if I can. Yes, Vita,
Yes.
please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Caroline. Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to ask about the Excel template for the budgeting, as I just have no idea about what it needs to be included in there, as I just noticed that this is about the subscription fee. And other than that, I just cannot figure it out about what it's all about. Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So what I'll do is I'll together with these presentations, I'll put in a zip file the guidelines and a Word application form. So all the questions that you need to answer in order to apply. But just to remind everybody that you have to do it online. So you can do. You can write some things in Excel or in Word, and then you cut and paste and put it online. So basically, we can't accept application by email attachment. So you have to do it online. But you can start writing your applications in Word or Excel, and then cut and paste to the online application later. But I'll send to the Mentari all the file that you will need.
All right, thank you. That will be much appreciated, and this is much easier for us then.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Vita. Then the next question comes from Ari Bimo Prakaso. And I'll try to unmute you to ask your question yourself. Please go ahead, Ari. Hi.
Sorry, thanks. Yeah, so it's just a simple question. I read for the workshop participant, it need to be like a minimum for PhD or equivalent. What is the criteria for the equivalent? Like, do they need to work on a development project for how many years or something like that? Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The guideline doesn't prescribe sort of exactly how many years, but it just say PhD holders or equivalents, those who work in the field where PhD is not prerequisite for established research activity. So I think the best way to answer this is I'll ask my colleagues whether they have a simple sort of conversions of experience to a PhD holder, if you like, and then I'll pass that answer on to Mentari and then forward it to you. I'm sorry, I can't be more helpful.
All right, thanks.
And related to that question, there are two questions from Dino, Vitriza, and Andreas. I'll ask them directly if that's okay. So they're asking if the organizer of the workshop is not from a university or research institution, but from an NGO. Would that be possible? So yeah, and then the second question is indeed, is there any possibility to do research with NGOs? I only see collaborations with universities. Would you be able to answer those questions?
Okay, so I believe it doesn't have to be university, but let me find. But I think the principle is it's a not-for-profit organization. Oh yeah, I find it. So basically. It should be not-for-profit organization, so it could be higher education institution or publicly funded research organizations. Yeah.
Sorry, Mas.
And there is a link on page 4 of the guideline that colleagues can refer to. Granty, please come in.
Yeah, hi, Mas. I would like to just jump in to probably provide further insight on that. So for the non-for-profit or NGO, I think in most cases, we could not make them eligible. I think the eligible institution for this RLCC are the universities and also research institutions. If you are an NGO, a researcher based in NGO, for example, I think it's worth for you to find a partner that based in university or a research institution. I think that's the best suggestion that we can provide to you. Thank you.
Thank you very. Oh, sorry. Do you want to add anything?
No.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. Then the next question is from Listiati Setiopalupi, and I'll try to unmute you. And you have a question around whether it's possible to partner on the social aspect of climate change.
All right, thank you. Yeah.
Please go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. My name is Palupi. I am from Universitas Airlangga. I'm just wondering, is it possible to do a research collaboration with UK university in related to social aspect of climate change, since this is interdisciplinary?
I'm losing you.
I think she's been muted by accident again. Palupi, let us try to unmute you again. We can't hear you anymore. Let's see. I don't seem to be able to unmute her. We can't hear you anymore, unfortunately. Yeah, there you are again.
Is it already?
Yeah, we didn't hear the last few sentences that you said.
Can you hear my question?
Yes, yeah? We can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. I will unmute myself then. Mute myself, I mean.
We didn't hear the last two lines of your question, but I think your question was, yeah. If you want to quickly repeat it.
Oh, okay. In a simple manner, is there any possibilities to have research collaboration with a UK university partner that have a common interest in social aspect of climate change? Thank you. Just it. Thanks.
Yes, it's possible. So because it's interdisciplinary, so it's possible to approach the issue from social angles.
Great. I hope that answers.
Can I?
Of course, go ahead.
Some more question. And how is the procedure to do to have that kind of collaboration? And for the lead researcher, is there any like educational background requirements, such as it should be PhD or it could be a master, but with research experience, or perhaps with lead applicants. Okay, is it supposed to be having a PhD degree, or it could be a master with perhaps have some grant from the ministry, for example? It could be considered as a lead applicant. And how is the procedure to conduct the research collaboration between my university and the university in UK? Thank you.
Okay, so again, if I can send you the guidelines on page 4, we align ourselves with the European Commission toward European Framework for Research Career. So there is a sort of a professional stages for researchers. So basically, what we expect from principal applicants is at the level or R4. so you can benchmark yourself against that requirement. And also, if there is any sort of official benchmarking with Indonesia, I think that would also be useful. But anyhow, if you go, if later on you can sort of look at it in more details on page 4 of the guidelines, and there is a link to that stages of a researcher career that we refer to.
Thank you.
Can I add one more, please?
Yeah, if you have a quick 1 minute, and then
Okay.
I'll go to the last question, if that's okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, just last question. Actually, to be honest, I am still in my master's, and but I got some grant from Ristek Brin, yeah, to do the research. So is it could be considered as lead applicants? Thank you.
I guess the answer would be the same, that if you look at the European framework for research career, we expect the lead applicant in R4 level. So you benchmark your credential against the expectation and see whether you can match that. So I think that would be the right approach here. So I'll forward you the guideline, and you can look at it in more detail there.
Thank you, greatly appreciated.
Thank you very much. I think indeed we had another question from Flora, if she could have the guidebook. So we'll distribute that after this webinar to everyone. I also see another question from Maftu Shahin about whether the principal applicant should be a PhD who represents a UK-based institution, or is it possible for an individual? I believe you already answered that question, right, Muhammad?
Yep.
Or do you want to quickly again confirm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I answered that.
Great. I think we've addressed all the questions that are in the chat box. If people have any other questions, this is your time to put it in the chat box, or otherwise you can send it to the email addresses mentioned in the presentations, which we will also distribute after this webinar. I'd like to stress again that if you are interested in our Mentari's matchmaking services, there's a survey that I just put in the group chat again. If you fill this out, we can link you with UK or Indonesian universities who have similar research interests, whether that is for these current call for proposals or for future opportunities. If there are no other questions, I think we can end the webinar 10 minutes early, unless one of the speakers would like to mention anything else to provide some further clarity.
Can I mean, can I just say something that I think, thank you very much for hosting us, and also for all the questions. So that I'm not forgetting anything, can I just summarize the action point from my side? So basically, I'll ask questions regarding example of the kind of activity that can be included in the challenge prize, and then whether the restriction on Zooms can be considered for Indonesia context. And the third one is whether inclusion of staff costs, given the considerable burden that the university staff cost will bear in this project, can be also considered. And finally, number 4 question from Pa Arigimo, whether there is a convergence of experience to against PhD holder. So I believe all that's the 4 action point. Please let me know if I missed anything. But
yeah, very well remembered. Yeah, thank you so much. I think in the chat box there's one final question actually from Suban Petrana. So we'll do one more. I'll unmute you now, Suban, and then you can ask your question. Let me know if it works to unmute you. Yes, okay. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Karin.
No worries.
I want to ask you about our previous proposal that was I distributed to the Mentari, and you have distributed to the university in UK, and you have connecting us with the Leeds University with Petros.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. At the moment, Petros will help us to provide the technology aspect, but not for the funding. So I have question. Can this be financed by the Newton Fund, and who should apply?
Yes, I think to give a bit of background, this won't be organizing workshops, but it will be an actual research to do some solar PV mapping, if I'm correct, right, Suban? So I think if you would like to answer the question, Granti, on when again the Newton Fund will be open, because that might be an opportunity to get some funding.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So yeah, Pak Subhan, terima kasih pertanyaannya, Pak. So I think because you have the existing partnership, there's a potential there. It's just a matter of a decision from the UK government if they would be willing to grant another opportunity for the British Council to deliver next year for the Newton Fund. But should there be any decision comes from the UK government and the Newton Fund institutional links would be open in April, please do keep in touch and keep informed. We will be posting this in our social medias and also in British Council website. But yes, it would be an eligible proposals to be submitted to the Newton Fund institutional links. Secondly, on your question, who's going to be responsible to submit? I think in most cases the UK part, or in your case it's the University of Leeds, would be the lead to submit the proposals, but it should be a joint proposals, Pak Subhan. So you should be writing the proposal together, but in terms of the management and also the grants management from the UK side, it should be the Leeds University to lead. I hope I answer your question, Pak Subhan. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Berlin.
Thank you very much for asking that final question and for answering Pak Granti. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thanks to everyone for attending this. I hope it's been informative and useful. Again, if you have any other questions, you can reach us via the emails that were mentioned in the PowerPoint. We'll send an email to everyone after this session. And if you want to make use of our matchmaking services, please do not forget to fill out the survey, which can be found in the chat box, and we'll also email to everyone. So thank you very much, and terima kasih.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.